I knew what the ending to that movie was like if I stayed in the UFC. And you know, physically, I'm in my prime, man. I've never been so strong, fit. I'm knowledgeable. I have experience on my side. So I have all that. People tell me, dude, don't retire yet. Fight a couple more. And I get that. But like I said, I know the way this movie ends. Whether I go undefeated and win the title, or if I, who knows, up and down, I know exactly the way that road ends. And I didn't want that for myself, man.
Welcome to the Pirate Life Podcast with your host, Tait Fletcher.
All right, welcome all you freaks. So glad to have you, man. Down here, Venice, California, Pirate Life Podcast. We got Brandon Schaub on today. Super excited. And I just want to thank a little bit of our sponsors first, cavemancoffee.com. Just sipping on this new Sabertooth roast. It's super dark and it's like an electric taste is what I think of it as. And it's fantastic, man. I had about 3 cups already, so I think I'm ready for this podcast. I got 2 pots on brew over here. So cavemancoffee.com, all your needs. You might have seen on my Instagram a fantastic pirate as fuck shirt on my friend Rachel, who she works at TMZ, crazy enough. Moved from Boston, followed her dreams, TMZ worker. Anyways, that shirt's on cavemancoffee.com as well. Onnit.com also, I just got a big package from my man over there. And super dope, man. Alpha Brain. I use it not as prescribed, of course, because I don't use much as prescribed. But the dream state that I get into and the kind of restfulness that is achieved through 5 or 6 of those Alpha Brains at night before I go to bed, it's unreal, man. I hate to sleep without it. It's almost like, do you want to go to a great movie while you're asleep or don't you? And when I don't, it's like I sleep good anyway. I'm a great sleeper, but like when I do, I'm like, my mind is on fire, electric, and I'm rested and feel great in the morning when I get up. And anyway, onnit.com, love having those guys. And then my friends down in Torrance at the Float Clinic, they know you guys already. If you're listening to this, you already know all about isolation tanks and all that. And I love those guys. I don't get down there near enough, but they're great if you're looking for Southern California float tanks, the cleanest, most beautiful, pristine surroundings ever, and their tanks are awesome. They're all custom built into these, private rooms, and they're incredible. They're really, really great. So floatclinic.com. You can find them on Twitter too, and that's about it. I want to go ahead and shout out Fighter and the Kid podcast, of course, Joe Rogan podcast, and my friend Nate Harris, who puts these together at the end of the day after I get finished rambling on. He makes sure they're loaded up. So all of that. And what else is going on? I think that's about it. So we'll get into this in the next few minutes. And with no further ado, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to my mom too, who's been here visiting, and I just sent her off to the gym. She's up at Deuce Gym, and Deuce is also a sponsor of mine. They help me out with all my training and let me go ahead and use the place for fight training and fight work afterwards for films if I need it, and all of my programming and strongman work and CrossFit work and whatever I want to get into there is it's a great space down there on Lincoln Boulevard in Venice, and I am most grateful to them for all they've done for me. It's been really fantastic. My friend Logan Gelbrick, you can find him at Functional Coach, runs the place, and it's a magical joint, man, and I hope you all have one in your city. Something similar to that's inspirational and invigorating to you. Also, birthfit.com is the last one I want to mention. Not the last one, second to last. BirthFit, if you know an expectant mother, you are an expectant mother, you want to know a pathway to make you the strongest towards the biggest fight of your life, which will be childbirth probably, and get yourself into the best condition to be able to meet that event, and then also afterwards to recover to the best and fullest of your abilities after that event. Birthfit.com. Lindsay Matthews is a wonderful doctor friend of mine, and she runs that site. and it's been her love child for the last few years. And they do a postpartum course. They all of that. Very knowledgeable folks. So hit that up, and then also the Naval SEAL Foundation. If you can donate, please do, man. Our government doesn't take care of these guys at all, and to the degree that we can come together and help each other is to the degree that we can succeed as a nation, I think. And it's one of the best. It was troublesome kind of to route through all the stuff, like, you know, what's the best foundation to give to as far as veterans and all that kind of stuff. And the Navy SEAL Foundation is fantastic. My friend Andy Stumpf is a big fan, and he was a 6-team guy, and they've helped my cousin out a lot, who all his friends, and he's a fellow that has needed the help, and they're there for him, man. They stand up for the guys, and they're there, and they help their families afterwards and all that stuff. So if you can give anything, Navy SEAL Foundation is a fantastic way to do it and express your gratitude to those guys that are in really a thankless and anonymous position. And so that's that, and we're going to get into this with Brennan Schaub here next. All right, people, here we are, and you know, we just can talk forever, it seems like, and so we're just going to jump right in this. But Brendan just got to my place, and great to have him, man. If you don't know Brendan, I don't know what rock you're under, but I always say to people when they're like, "Hey, who are you?" I'm go, "You got Google?" Google. But you know, Brendan was elite athlete in the UFC, and is one of the most inspiring and in a visionary kind of way, in a way that is like, it emboldens what I'm doing, and it makes me feel better about, you know, whenever you get doubts or insecurities that might creep into your life or whatever, and you're like, is this the right way or is that the right way? What's an interesting thing, man, is like as an ex-fighter myself, and going out into this next life, which is what you have to do, and you have to go. You have to ask yourself, I think, what's been the hardest questions, and I've been in a few points in my life where it's come up, where it's like, who are you now? Without the money in your pocket, without the people looking at you going, ooh, he's that guy, without all that stuff, who are you? Outside of it all, stripped away. And what's next? And people don't let go of fighting because of that question, man, because that's a terrifying thing to face. And I don't know if you haven't walked through it, if you can understand it. I'm sure it comes up in different places in life, but it's one of the bravest things that you can do, I think, when you see it shot through courageously, because there's a lot of ways to do it. You know, the default way, I know a lot of guys, they're like, I'll start a gym. And they're not gym owners, they're athletes, and they suck at business, and then that's what happens. And or they're still athletes, and they want to beat all their students instead of being like really a gracious gym. You know, like, there's all these different things. And really, truly, man, I look at the history of mixed martial arts, and I look at my own life, and I look at all the people that I know that have come and gone in mixed martial arts, and guys that I think that are killing it, that are like inspirational. It's like in the beginning, coming out of New Mexico, there was a handful of us that kind of paved a road in a way. And then afterwards, what happens? And really, I look at like what Tim Kennedy's doing. I look at like what Keith and I are doing. I look at, I don't know, less than 10 guys. I don't know. And you're one, man. Like I look at that stuff, and it's a hard choice. And those conversations, when that comes up for you, you know, what happened? Can you speak on that?
It's a scary choice, right? Like, you've been through it, and I think when you're defined as a fighter for so long, or a professional athlete for so long, and that's what you identify with, and that's what people see you, like you said, wherever you go, people recognize you for that. It's tough to let that go, man, but I think the changing point for me is, like you said, a lot of guys that I started with, and I've started with, oh man, just the best.
The best in the world, the very best.
So blessed with that, man, just the best in the world. But I see how those guys who are all older than me, because I was the young buck in the gym at the time, and I see how these guys are doing now. You know, and not that they're doing bad, or even some buddies who are still in the UFC.
It's just not what you would want.
It's not what exactly. For me, you know, I think Rogan put it best is, you know, be the director of your own movie. And for me, I knew what the ending to that movie was like if I stayed in the UFC. And you know, physically, I'm in my prime, man. I've never been so strong, fit. I'm knowledgeable. I have experience on my side. So I have all that. People tell me, dude, don't retire yet. Fight a couple more. And I get that. But like I said, I know the way this movie ends. Whether I go undefeated and win the title, or if I, who knows, up and down, I know exactly the way that road ends. And I didn't want that for myself, man. I felt like there's something more. And I'll never forget this. When I was young, my dad always told me the best investment you can make is in yourself. So I just remember telling me that, and I was like, well, I'd rather bet on myself making it outside the UFC than anyone else. Like, I'd rather control my own destiny with, my podcast with Brian Callen, my T-shirt business.
It's a huge thing because you don't even know if that's possible. You know what I mean? It's like when you're looking at it before you jump into that, you're like, can I really crack the bills open with selling a shirt or what? I mean, that's a huge, huge deal. And I think what you're saying about, how many are left in me. Yeah, I can, that's exactly, I go, well, I could fight for another 5 years is what I was looking at. And I was like, but you probably won't get brought back to the UFC. But the smaller shows pay better anyway, frankly, but you don't have the exposure. But because I was like, you're not going to fight for a belt, Tait, not ever in the UFC. Like, you fight, you're with the best guys in the world training, and Rashad handles your ass. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? He's not the belt holder, or whatever. Keith Jardine, like, great training partner, best training partner. Keith would always be like, "You're best my training partner for my life," because I showed up all the time and I was his size and
consistent,
but. You're not messing with that. And so I look at that and I go, so what's the point? And you grind out a couple more fights, and then you look at, if I start this next life later, I'm going to be that much farther behind in 5 years. And for what's the payoff monetarily or into my future? I guess I started thinking about my future. And what do you think about that? What I've said to people is, the first time you start thinking about what's next or what's your future as an athlete like that, you're done already.
You're done. Just yesterday I had Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit.
How cool was that? I haven't heard it yet.
They're the best. I love those guys.
Sitting there, and I was like,
insane, right? Both of them at the same time.
Just the picture. I just saw your Instagram.
Dude, it's the best.
Yeah.
But I asked those guys, and I already knew the answer before they even said. I said, so have you guys even thought about maybe what's next? The thing is, they can't.
Yeah.
You're talking about two of the very best in the world.
Watch a guy get uncomfortable.
Oh, Robbie was like, not really, man. I'm just trying to win this belt, and then I don't know, might coach kids or something.
It's almost as crazy a thing as when you're in sixth grade and they're like, in 5 years, where would you like to be? I'm like, I'm in fifth grade. What are you talking about?
Bitch, give me another Lego. I don't know.
I don't even have a full vocabulary.
It's like, what do you mean? Yeah, and I almost. I didn't even want to ask you because I already knew the answer, but the interview just went down that way. But that's how it is, man. You have to be all in.
All in.
But that's why I think people, when an athlete walks in the room, especially a fighter, I've been at these huge SB parties, whatever, and there's every athlete in the world there. No one really gives a fuck if a fighter walks in the room. Every other athlete's like, holy shit, because they can't do what we can do. They're not risking the same shit we're risking. They know.
At a certain point, if you're out there, I grew up with guys that were great at basketball, great at hockey, different sports, they excelled at, but you're not going to fuck with a wrestler.
No.
You know what I mean? It's
never.
They're not going to be at a party and be like, you know what, I got 3-pointers, I'll double leg, you're dead.
Yeah, go ahead, try it. Yeah.
And in sport, it's all that dominance. You dominate on the court, and especially all the verbiage that goes around with it. And it's amazing, all the verbiage that you'll hear, little sayings that'll come from boxing, from Muhammad Ali and all that, and get extrapolated onto a track star. It's like, well, no, that's not what Ali was probably talking about. You're jumping hurdles. different,
completely different. Yeah, man. I think I don't blame anyone, but you're right. As soon as you start going, man, what am I gonna do after this? And I think me and my coach and I were just talking about this the other day. Probably a year and a half ago, maybe even a little less, he asked me, we were going through camp, I think it was for Arlovsky or maybe it was Mitrione, I forget, probably Arlovsky, but we were going through camp and it was just a grinder, man. We drove down to San Diego, I sparred with Gustafsson, Brandon Vera, just these killers. I was beat up, I had a little bit of a mild concussion. We're driving back, traffic for 4 hours, I'm not doing well, man, I'm throwing up. And my coach just looks at me and goes, how long are you going to do this?
Right.
How long are you going to do this, Brendan? I said, probably another 4 years at least. He's like, you think you have 4 years? I go, 100%. 100% 4 years.
Yeah, and you got to think that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know, man.
What is Brendan's killing it too? Brandon Vera.
Vera.
He got into real estate right away. One of his managers was very smart with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's still fighting. He's in,
really?
was it FC1 or whatever the hell it is over there in Japan or some shit. He's fighting at heavyweight.
He probably gets good paychecks there too, I bet.
Yeah, he's always been a draw. Good dude, man.
Yeah,
you know?
super nice, kind
he came
guy.
flying on the scene, if you remember Vera, and grabbed the mic, said I'm going to be the first light heavyweight champ. And then he has a contract thing with the UFC, and he like held out for all this crazy money.
Right.
And then he got that, and then he was just really not the same fighter.
Right.
So when you sign for that certain money, this is what a lot of people don't realize. You know, I was on the tough contract, and I was getting tough fights, but they kind of favored me because I was on the tough contract. You know, 8-8, 10-10,
it's
12
like free.
12.
It's basically like you're gonna fight like from
100%.
their pocketbook. It's like that's already paid for. It's free.
Nothing.
It doesn't
Yes,
come.
You're just a guy. Let's hope you make it. But then after I got out of that and I signed a real contract with the UFC, then you're getting killers because it's like, no, if we're paying you, you're fighting
Better
some monsters.
perform.
Yes.
And that's
It's a different game.
that's what I mean is like, so if you're at the point when if you even look at it and you're like, I can't really make the belt. I can't, like, there's guys that are just going to be so good. Like, if that is in your head at all, that's you're done. Those are the two things, man. What am I going to do next? And like, I'm just a journeyman fighter here. That's going to kind of, I'll take like the way Leonard that got done in the UFC.
Garcia.
He was one of the last ones. Yeah, Leonard Garcia. Whereas like super exciting fighter, everybody loved to watch him for sure. But it was like no threat to the belt really. Like not going to go there because the ground game just wasn't there for him. And so people knew that. But the UFC loved having him because he's a great guy and he's a great draw. He's an exciting fighter to watch.
He threw from the hips. He was a gunslinger, and as his friend, when Leonard fought, I was like, fuck.
Yep.
Fuck, man.
And also,
the crowd was like,
that?
yes.
When else I would say that? Very few times I would spar with lightweight guys. But if Leonard was like, hey, man, everybody dipped out. You want to get a couple rounds in? Yes. Because you know you're going to get hit with hammers.
100%.
That guy hits like a heavyweight.
Yeah, he hits like a tank,
Yep.
and he goes hard, and he's a good dude.
He's the best. Smiling all the time. You never see him like...
Win or lose, man.
You know, he told me a crazy story one time. He was at Denny's or some kind of restaurant like that in Texas, and he says, man, I was in this street fight, man. I didn't want to be. I was with my girlfriend.
This
and
is
it was
recent?
Like maybe
no?
after church. No, this was before he got in the UFC.
Okay.
And he goes, and I knew some jiu-jitsu because I knew him, and maybe I knew a couple guys from his gym that fought up in Denver way back in the day when Sven Bean was doing shows up there and all that, like a Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire, that's where I started.
And that's where I first met those guys from Lubbock, Texas.
Nice.
That were up anyway. And he's like, I double-legged the guy, and I'm on top of him, and he's hitting me from the bottom and hitting me in the ribs and trying to hit me in the head. And he says, and I'm teeing off on him, and I come back to throw one, and he hits me in the back, and my arm won't come down. And he's like, and so I hear somebody scream, there's a knife in you. So the dude had been stabbing him.
Good
and stuck one in the back and locked his shoulder blade so his arm couldn't come down anymore. Like,
dang.
He's like, dude, after that, I just really started to avoid street fights. You never know what's going to happen.
No
I was
shit,
like,
man.
yep.
Dude, Leonard's a guy where my very first time at Jackson's, I drove down with Elliot Marshall and Cody Donovan. We drove down from Denver, which was TKO. And I knew about Greg, obviously, right?
Sure.
He burst on the scene. All you guys were there.
Yep.
Keith and all you guys would come to Denver. But this is the first time I went to Jackson's. So I went to Albuquerque, and we stayed at Donald and Leonard's house. And it was just like...
Mayhem.
Like, what?
Was Kong there, Watson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom was there, Leonard, and Cowboy. And it's just like, it was like Animal House. Like, and I'm not that guy. Anyone who knows me, like, dude, I like to chill. I need my rest. I just want to train.
And whatever's coming in
good.
that house is getting shared.
Dude, everything. What? It was like fucking Murderer's Row. I was like, bro, I need to relax. When staying in a hotel 2 nights later, man. But certain guys, they love that stuff.
Yeah.
Slept on bunk beds. Me and Cody slept on bunk beds.
Isaac, Donald stayed there for a while. He's like, it is so crazy. Like, it was crazy.
It's another level.
It's like a 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, 6 guys or something. I was like, oh, no thanks.
Think of Animal House on steroids.
Yeah.
Think of Animal House times 10.
With Uber athletes that
alphas.
They're not going to school. They're going to punch each other and strangle each other for half the day. Then go eat, go karting, go pick up girls, go back, do it again. And that's the whole life.
That's
man.
the whole life. And at the time,
and the dream is not the UFC. The dream is that life. The dream is you can do that, and you're not bouncing at a bar anymore.
Yeah, man.
Man, you've arrived. As a fighter, that's all I ever wanted.
I agree, and I look back on those days, and it was so fun, man.
Yeah.
Like I really wasn't stressed. I was fighting in a local show, so I didn't have the pressure and the media of the UFC, and those Animal House days. We left from that, like you said, we just wanted to make enough where we could just do that all. Train girls.
I mean, that was the dream.
Train
That's the
girls,
first thing.
do whatever the hell
as
we
a
want.
fighter.
100%. Because we went from working at a place called Wish, where the security was Cody Donovan, Elliot Marshall, Brandon Thatch, and myself. And so it was the four of us, man.
Yeah.
And we'd show up, we'd have fun. Nothing really ever happened, but we were up till 4 a.m. probably. But as soon as all of us could quit that and just do like the Donald Cerrone lifestyle, man, we made it.
And that's the ideal job. If like the reason isn't that's the ideal job because you're like you think it is. I got into working in nightclubs because I was like, well, I'm capable, I'm big, I'm whatever, and you think that's the reason it's the ideal job. I left a more lucrative job to do that job because that's the job that allowed me to train in the daytime.
Yes.
Because I could, like 4 o'clock in the morning was cool because there was a training at 10 a.m. and then there's another one at 5.
Yep.
And those are the training sessions that my partners, it's not like they work around your schedule. It's like, and so I just, everybody's like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, well, you got to change your life to do that. Like, well, I live in Des Moines or wherever I live, then you should move.
Yeah.
And like if people aren't willing, like people, I really want to be you're not willing to move to one of the best places in the world to train, then you're not. It's cool, but you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's how bad do you want it?
It's not 100%. That you and all that stuff about can't. Like, well, I can't do that because I live here or I've got this or that. Like that doesn't exist. You got to change the diction to go. I won't. Because that's the truth. The truth is you can. Like, you're free in America. You can do whatever. Like, I don't care if you got kids. I don't care about whatever. Like, you can make it work. Anything can happen. But it's more empowering. It's like this thing that runs through us. When we get used to saying, I can't, like, that's a negative thing. I think it grows in us because it becomes an easy excuse. When the thing is like, I won't. Like, I won't do that to do that.
Well, it's more of comfort zones. Like, people want to stay in this comfort, safe zone. Like you said, for me, the comfort, safe zone is continuing to fight in the UFC.
Right.
To get out of that is, it's uncomfortable, man. It's still uncomfortable.
It's the most regular paycheck that you've had in years was the UFC, right? So like when that becomes the most, it's like whatever becomes consistent, you're like, well, the odds of that check coming are better than an odds of the check equaling it from podcasting or from whatever. When you start looking at that, like you were in a super fortunate place where you're like, oh, I've already built the podcasting up, which is just a fun goof that I was doing with my friend Brian.
Yep.
And then this actually paid me money. Like, wow. And so it's awesome, but still not easy to do, not easy to look at that kind of thing and be like, huh. And I think whenever anybody says, well, what do you want to do? Like, and that's a huge point. Just a fun thing you're doing with your pal Brian.
Well, yeah, it was fun, and both of us were passionate about it.
But imagine if you looked at it and you started and go, well, this is the next job. I'm going to see if I can. You know what I mean? It wouldn't happen.
But I look back on certain moments where, again, I invested in myself. So my last fight and the fight before that, you'll notice I'm wearing an Abbott Kinney Fight Club tee with a Fighter and the Kid on the back. I turned down good amount of money. This was before Reebok. So I turned down good sums of money to just wear my own stuff. Mm-hmm. And then on the banner, again, for the top spot, usually we sell that to a sponsor. I put Fire and the Kid podcast. It was the first podcast in the UFC. Yeah. So I was, I think, subconsciously doing this because I knew that was the next step. But I was never like, oh, this is how I'm going to make a living. Right. Never. But I could subconsciously, I knew I cared about it, and I look back on certain moments where they'd say, hey, this company wants to give you whatever, $30,000 to wear their shirt. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'd rather just rock my own.
I would never, ever put on a Reebok shirt. I would never, even now, even just like as a civilian.
For what it stands for.
There's no way, man. To me, that's a cancer brand. And it's like, it's crazy. I mean, when you look at things like that, and you used to look at it, and like I can remember like tearing up a jiu-jitsu circuit and going, man, if Adidas Combat Geese wanted to sponsor, how cool would that be? Like, I mean, I remember when somebody just, the first time I saw Mask, and he's like, hey, here's a T-shirt, kid. And I was like, awesome.
Oh,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean? And like I'm spending, you know what him giving me a $12 t-shirt was? I'm sponsored by Tap Out.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that meant something,
You
man.
rocked it all the time.
Always.
Well, the thing is, with Reebok, it's just, we talked a little bit off air, and I've said this fucking so many times, but recent with their whole Ireland thing that they did and then taking down the fight kits is...
What was the Ireland thing?
They for UFC Dublin, they came out with a Ireland shirt, like protect your territory, and they left out Northern Ireland.
Oh, my
They cut off Northern
Lord.
Ireland. So they had to pull it down because you can't do that. You sure as fuck can't do that. So
That's like terrorism.
Yes,
kinda.
they had to, yeah, exactly. They were
Wow.
getting death threats, all crazy shit.
And they should have.
Yeah. So they had to take it down and apologize. It's like, at what point do we all realize that this isn't working? This relationship isn't working, and because I've said this till I'm fucking blue in the face, and I'm sick of Reebok, but it's just the current state of our sport, so we got to talk about it. Is people can smell bullshit, and it started with the kits. Everyone's like, "Well, that looks like some Power Ranger bullshit." For sure, spend more time, and then they found out how much we're getting paid, and then fans are like, "Oh no." What you don't realize is we don't want to represent Reebok in the UFC. We want to represent the fighters who risk it all in there. That's what people are missing this boat on.
No.
We don't give a fuck about a UFC shirt or a
That
Reebok shirt.
transparency of when they came out when there was Ronda's fight in Brazil, and now somebody showed me, oh, look at what they made here, and it was like even Ronda was like $12,000 or $15,000 or something. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, that's ridiculous. And then most of them $2,000 or something like that. And I was like, these are the highest level professional athletes. What, like, this is embarrassing.
For Ronda and I think it's 10 or 12 other fighters, they have a separate deal.
What I don't like about that, I knew when I saw Ronda's price on it. So she's 3 times than the lowest or whatever, or 5 times the lowest paid. But that's not true. like, because I know that there's a secret check that goes to her. I know there is. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's a dummy. It's like, so you look at this and go, oh yeah, all the super duper heroine of she accepted this? No way. And there's no way. And even if she did, and Dana goes, oh, well, you have to accept that, love, just do that. Like, I bet she would, and I bet Dana goes, here's a check for $250 that's personal.
You know how it works.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys.
You know how it works. And it's tough, man. They're in a weird spot. They're in a weird spot.
Well, I think that, I mean, for me, myself, when I say I won't wear that now, even, it's like I look at it in such a fortunate way, because the only stuff I'll wear is people that I love, like not just like friends, but like guys that I really care about. Like, that's the only, if there's something on my t-shirt, it's because I love that guy that made that thought of the idea, that thought of the graphic and all that. And what a cool place to be in life, where it's like, now I'm at this place where like was nothing for a long time, and now I'm like, wow, I get to be amongst all these fantastic people that are doing fantastic things, and they're coloring people's lives in a beautiful way. And like, to have this group, this like nucleus of people that is just kind of spreading that goodness, and it's like, it's cool to be able to have that. And then I think, you know, I get tweets about it or whatever, and people are like, well, it's cool to see that, because then I know who to root for, kind of, because I believe in you. And it's like, that's that thing of that authenticity too, that like people crave that, and they go, oh, well, Tait doesn't really give a shit to say what like he'll embarrass himself to like not be on whatever looks like the cool kids team if he thinks it's bullshit.
Well, I told you before we started the show, the reason people are drawn to you, Tait, is because they're sick of the cookie cutter stuff, right? They're sick of the man, they're sick of the machine, they're sick of all that stuff. Reebok represents that. Other companies represent that. So for you to be an outlier and this outlaw who's like, nah, man, I'm not going to go that direction. I'm going to do this. That's not right. But a lot of people, they have no choice. So that's why they're, you know what I'm saying? They're drawn to a person who can educate themselves and take a stand and not just follow the leader.
I really believe that those without a choice per se it's like they don't know how to circumvent their fears. And that's a lot I think about, like why I think podcasts and why different broadcasts that are authentic like that are important, because it shows how to remove those obstacles. Like, it's easy to look at you or me and go, it's easy for you guys. You guys are in great shape, or you're the most handsome man I ever looked at, Brendan, or whatever. The thing is, but it's like, you don't get to see the beginning years of what that is, or you don't get to see about the daily struggle of diet or working out when I don't feel like it, or like eating, you know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to see the result and be like, I had a 14-year-old, and they're like, well, how'd you get into acting and stuff like that? And I go, well, it's been, a long road of like this and that and this kind of sacrifice. And I said, you just have to go out and try it. Why don't you just dip your toe in the water, get into your high school, or whatever. And she's like, well, it's just easy for you. I mean, it's easy for you to do. And I'm like,
it's a slap in the face.
Well, like, it's from a kid, I was like, I get it. But like when you hear that from adults and you're like, that's the most diminishing and insulting thing that you could really offer me right now, is to say that. Like, and that means that you haven't been about shit. You haven't done anything. So you're a spectator in life. You write the comments on the YouTube channel.
That gives them the pass, though. If they do that, that gives them the pass because they're not doing shit. So they're like, you're fortunate. You got lucky.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Like, dude, trust me, I've had fighters and even Fox has tried this before, where they want to duplicate the success of Fighter and the Kid, so they put a fighter and a comic together.
Wow.
A lot of people are trying it. And it's not that. It has nothing to do with fighting and the comedian. It's two best friends, and we speak a similar language. And
how horrible chemistry for the guys that they're pushing to try to do that.
It's tough, man.
Hey, here's what we want to do. And then those guys are studying you. Okay, I need to be more like that. No, you've already lost. You already lost at the beginning of the conversation.
You're trying to duplicate something.
Yeah, no way.
You don't want to do what everyone else is doing. You can do it similar, but go a different route, man.
And that's the problem. Is like we don't like. I think that we as a people, we don't want homogenized. Everything kind of tastes the same. Let those guys have their own flavor. Go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can, like, anything is possible. And that's I mean, when you take the limits off of stuff and you go, really, producer, anything.
Well, look at the way of digital now. You look at Netflix, Hulu Plus, YouTube. Facebook is doing their own streaming now, so it takes out the middleman of YouTube. So if you're posting a video, it's YouTube to Facebook, and it's a YouTube link on Facebook. Facebook said, no, we're good. We're going to take that out, and they can stream your own stuff. Yep. So it's all this streaming. Because people can do whatever. Periscope, people can literally do whatever they want. You have a show concept, and you don't want to sign on with this huge corporation. You can produce your own stuff, man. We're in a great time right now. It's a dope time because you don't have to watch all these bullshit commercials. You don't have to wait till every Wednesday to watch your favorite show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's dope, man.
That's what I really see too. Like hanging out with comics years ago, like when I first got introduced to all those guys and seeing that, I saw all the similarities between that and fights, between those guys and what they did, because I'm like, they don't know where their paycheck's coming from either. And they have to go out and risk it on stage. Like, that's like being naked in a cage and going, here's all my haters, my lovers, my mom, people waiting for me to fall, everybody, and I'm about to do the most primal thing that we can do legally in the States.
Yep.
And I'm in my underwear, and here's another guy.
Yep.
And it's like, and when I saw the first open micers bombed, I'm like, that's what fighting feels like. That's all the stuff you're scared of when you go into fight, and it's right here. And God bless that little fella, and I would love seeing those guys.
Dude, we do the Fighting Kid live now, and we have a tour, West Coast tour coming up in January. So we had our first.
Your next one's in Tempe.
Tempe, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
Ontario, and then we haven't announced the West Coast.
And that's Ontario and Orange County, not
Correct.
Ontario, Canada.
Correct, sir. But so the first 8 to 10 minutes is me on stage by myself. It's basically, doing some stand-up.
Now, have you written stuff out, or you just wrote concepts of stories you want to bring up?
Yep. And Callan thought I was going to be more, like, scared, but my experience in the cage and the octagon and being in front of people all the time.
You're like, I know how to look comfortable here.
I'm like, dude, there's no curveballs here. Like, when I'm in a fight, if I'm fighting Arlovsky, dude, I'm expecting something, but I have no idea. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong which I didn't plan for. But in stand-up and these live shows, I control the tempo. There's nothing that I'm the one who dictates the way this thing goes. So it's not that I was nervous and I was prepared, obviously, like because I take my training.
Now, 8 or 10 minutes is a long time
for your first time.
I mean, to give people a scope on that, like what I'm talking about, what I just referred to, seeing open micers bomb or whatever, 90 seconds. They give guys 90 seconds, or 3 minutes would be a long time. Like, okay, you got 3 minutes, go make us laugh. And dude, to be under lights, like I've stood on those stages, you're under lights, you don't get to see the crowd.
No,
you can't see anybody. If there's 3 people or 300, you don't know. And everything, you're hearing everything. Your spidey senses, like you're in this state where it's like everything is amplified. Like,
yeah, man.
8 or 10 minutes is a long time, bro.
But you know what? The podcasts, the live podcast we've done before at the UFC Expo, Sports Center. I co-hosted Sports Center where it's live, man, so you can't mess up. It's just these certain steps in your life. I look at these moments; they lead you to this. It's so
I'm an
weird.
expert.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm good.
I'm a black belt.
It's not that I'm nervous. I'm more excited, and because we're in the back, and Callan's like, dude, I can't believe how excited you are. I'm like, yeah, man, this is so cool to me. This is dope.
Now, you've only done this once so far live, right?
Once, yeah.
Okay.
We've done it.
I've been
once.
wanting to go to Tempe, but I can't go. That date is the 12th, right?
The 12th, yeah. And then there's another one in Ontario, the 25th, I think.
I might be able to go to that.
Let me know.
Okay, because that thing, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna drive, because it's like 6 hours or whatever. I'm like, I'll drive to Phoenix.
That'd be fun, man.
But we got our same Concrete Cowboy in Austin. We got our year anniversary, and it's my boy Rico Taylor, who is like a co-owner of that, and he runs the one in Dallas. He's his birthday, so I got to be there. Like, if there's anything else except that,
the West Coast tour, I can't release it yet. They're finalizing like 2 other dates, but you'll for sure make one of those.
And this is something you cannot see online. You're not gonna do. You still decided, because I heard you and Joe riff about it.
Rogan was like,
man's got a way to talk you into stuff. You're like, in the moment, you're kind of like, maybe like, I guess he knows. I'll do it, and then you're like,
well,
nah.
Rogan knew that I was strong on my point not to air him, and then he's like, we'll talk after. And then after, I just told him, like, no, I'm not doing it, man. I know this is how you do things. I like to keep my shit exclusive and whatever. And people are like, oh, Schaub just doesn't want people to see his stand up. No, I'm saying see it live.
I want you
it's
to see
special for that live crowd.
But I think in a year or something, like, to have all these archived and release them in a box set.
I agree.
Or something.
Eventually.
Because
trust me, I have a plan.
Yeah, believe that. I just think, like, you got, it's kind of like the thing of, I mean, people are going to come see it anyway. That's not the reason not to do it, of course, because it's like, you're going to buy a Judas Priest album anyway, even if you saw him live. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to want to see both,
Yeah.
I'll buy the box set too. Yeah. Go ahead and give me Dr. Dre when he toured with Exhibit. I like that.
100%.
Yeah.
But it's not people, and I made the mistake, and obviously I'm new to this business. I called it a live podcast. It's not a podcast. It's a live Fighting Kids show. It's a show. It's like an experience. It's not a podcast.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is it
man.
Current events? Is it all that?
Yep,
formatted?
There's current events. It's me and Brian Rifton. There's fan questions.
Does he
me
do
and
a
Brian
dropping
singing.
knowledge?
We have a band there. We have dropping knowledge. Yeah.
This is like a what do they call that back in the day? A burlesque show kind of thing without the titties.
For
in
sure.
a way, like it's like a.
You might see a dick if we drink enough.
Awesome.
I don't know.
I love
You're
that.
like, yes.
I love
Will that be in Tempe?
I love that. If you can guarantee where the dicks will be in Philly, we're dropping dicks on you guys. Bring it out,
Philly. Get ready.
Angriest
Dicks are
city in
coming
the world. Dropping dongs.
Dropping dicks with Brian and Brendan.
Hashtag dong life. Yeah, but that's so cool. And that's the thing is, like, I really, like, so people are like, oh, how do you do it? I'm like, just watch. I listen to all the podcasts, like, with, like, all those, like, it's all laid out.
Yeah.
Here is the path.
Yep.
The path is this. And if you didn't pick up what the path was just from that, about the live show, the path is, do what's fun. What's next?
Do what you like.
Here's the next thing that's fun. Like, let's do that too. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the thing. Like with anything, I think, like with On It and with Caveman or with Fighter and the Kid, it's like, here's a product I'd like to see out there.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and make that product instead of going, I wish that product was there. And like these guys I don't know if are familiar with Tempest Free Running. They're like the best free runners in the world. They got Tempest South Bay. They're like parkour guys.
What do you mean free runners?
Like parkour.
Oh, okay.
Like flips and tricking and like kind of martial arts.
We're too big for that shit.
Oh, dude. We could go down and flip. It'll be awesome.
We're too big, though?
No, we can go down and do it because they got floors that you can bounce on and all that, and you can learn.
I'm saying to like go downtown.
We don't
want to.
We don't want to do that. No, I'm not. We're not trying to do that.
Too old.
No. Yeah. There's so many reasons not to. And these guys, their careers are like TIE fighters, where TIE fighters are done at 14 years old. Like they're like, I've had 300 fights and I'm just going to turn 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like those guys, when they're 23, 24, it's getting time to look at what the next thing is for those guys.
Why?
Because they take some spills.
I would assume so many broken ankles,
Yeah.
wrist, elbows, whatever.
And
But then-
flexibility, and to get the same elasticity, I think, in your jumps and stuff. Because you'll see guys like my friend Jeremy Marinas, he'll do standing backflips all day and gainers like off of cement. Like, I mean, and a lot of guys can do that, but it doesn't really speak. I don't know all the names of the moves to really speak to the majesty that the kid moves in. And like Lucy Romberg, she just went to Greece and she just won the women's free running thing, and they'll set these courses up, and it's like a lot of like, I think flair goes into it a lot.
100%. There has to be
and so
entertainment.
you've got to have guys that really know what they're looking at to judge this kind of stuff. But
I love it.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
They're smaller, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
The best
they're all
in the world
small
is
guys.
yeah.
135s,
You're not seeing me and you,
145s.
big ass
No,
dudes.
There's one guy, Jesse LaFleur, and he's, I want to say maybe he's 6'1", maybe, but he's like 145 pounds. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like that kind of thing.
I did gymnastics for probably a year and a half in training camps.
Best.
Because St. Pierre, I did it with him in Montreal, and then when I came back to Denver, Nate Marquardt and myself started to do it like every Wednesday. It was fun, man. It was cool. Like, all I wanted to do is jump into the foam pit and do backflips. Yeah.
right.
And they want us to like tumble and all this
Nate
stuff.
Marquardt, one of the best athletes you ever trained with.
Hands down. When Nate was in his prime,
Tell me about work ethic.
man, when Nate was in his prime, he's probably, I can't think of anyone better. He could have been like a little brother, big brother thing because he was kind of like the captain of the team. But dude, we brought the best, I'm not going to call guys out, but we had the best in the world come through, and he fucked dudes up. Like, it would be a superstar. Would walk in the gym, and everyone was like, oh, I can't wait to see Nate go with this dude.
Yeah.
And Nate would tear everybody up. And then, again, Nate's still fighting, man.
I know.
a
Well, and
bummer.
also, I want to say King of Pancrase at 19.
He started fighting when he was 17. King of Pancrase at 19.
I mean, that's amazing. That's it's like a Diego Sanchez career. Like, Diego's got to be one of the longest running guys in the UFC right now, right?
Shit, from Tough One, right?
I mean-
Is there anyone left from Tough One besides Diego?
I mean, guys I think are still fighting, but I don't think
Not in the UFC, right?
though.
Because Force is done.
No.
Well, I can't think of any. No, Diego's my.
He's
probably the only
amazing. His mind is always the most amazing. That's his best attribute. Is his
100%.
his doggedness and his belief. Like, if you asked even any other athlete, I think, even John Jones. If you asked any other athlete, who's the best guy in the world, pound for pound, and guys would be like, oh, Anderson, Weidman, John Jones, or whomever. John Dotson. You'd look at guys, and people would name guys that they looked at and admired. You ask Diego that, I bet Diego's answer is Diego.
Probably,
you know what I mean? Because
Diego
that guy
for
believes
Diego
more than,
for a long time
he's
was
so
a
badass,
motherfucker, man.
So badass.
And I remember going to Jackson's, and he was cutting weight.
He wanted all the heavyweights.
Dude, we're grappling, straight up jiu-jitsu, wrestling, straight up grappling,
Yep.
and he comes to me. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll go with John or Orlovsky. And he's like, oh, no, I'm good. We'll go. And he was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, can't control your body. Watch your feet.
He's a
Right?
monster,
A heel
man.
hook and
now
one.
he's fighting at 145.
Yeah, that kind of thing, man. That's commendable. That's like a plaque worthy thing. I think he's been around that long.
Dude, there's just certain guys that they're just different. Nate was that guy. Diego's that guy.
Yeah.
Keith was that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Keith was the first. I mean, Nate was a super nice guy, but Keith was the first guy I met where, I don't know, there was never an ego from Keith.
I don't know if I know
ever.
a quieter, humbler guy.
Dude, I was like, I thought at first, I was like, man, does Keith hate me?
Exactly.
Nope. He's just he's just kind of quiet. He's just a really, really good dude.
Yeah.
Great guy. And I remember coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He helped me train to get ready for Roy Nelson. So it was the finale. My first fight in the UFC was against Roy Nelson in the finale. Obviously lost that fight. And, I was in shambles in the back. And Keith came up to me and he said, there's nothing I can tell you that's going to make you feel better. All I can tell you is I feel bad for the next guy you're going to fight. And then he just walked away. And he was 100% correct. Because I beat the brakes off this guy in like 47 seconds. Because you go from Roy Nelson, which you can say it's your first fight, but that's still the finale. It's tough. He had 30 fights.
And he had 6 or so fights. He had a lot of fights before he went there,
He
right?
had 24, 27 fights, and he's a former world champ. And he fought Orlovsky and Ben
and
Rothwell.
that's not even like he's got hammers for
he's
sure.
a nightmare.
But his jiu-jitsu, man, was exceptional.
Amazing. And we saw it in his last. Dude, he took Barnett down.
That's what I thought too.
4 or 5 times.
Oh, I bet his jiu-jitsu slipped. I bet he's just let it go. He hasn't done it very much. I bet he just works on his hands. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, he's the truth.
Dude, to take Barnett down that many times is insane. Anyone who's heard stories about Barnett, he's a monster.
A monster. Everybody I ever talked to, and Barnett's not like much bigger than me, but everybody I ever talked to, and guys that were bigger and stronger than me, were like, he touches you, and it's a different kind of power.
Everyone, when I first came to California, I was like, I didn't know anyone. I knew Mark Munoz, and everyone, I was trying to put this super camp together with Verdum. He didn't want to train with me. He thought we were going to fight. We actually were supposed to fight, and then it fell through. But I was trying to put this super camp together. Verdum was out. Then I came here. That guy's out. And then I was like, oh, Barnett. Every single person I told was like, dude, don't train with Barnett, especially if you have potential to fight him. Just because he goes,
big brother the shit out of you.
He goes so hard in training. Every single person I talked to was like, dude, Barnett in training is a monster, man. Especially if potential to fight him, don't train with him. So we never trained together.
I had guys hit me up and ask like, hey, you want to come? He's getting ready for his next fight. I'm like, I'm on a show, and then I thought about it, and I thought after I was like, even if I wasn't on a show, that doesn't seem like fun at all. That's not
man.
like I'm trying to relax. I'm
dude,
not trying to be in a fight.
I agree,
like that.
dude. I have guys call me now. Oh, I need your help with this, and I'm like,
good
dude,
luck.
Nah, I'm A, too busy. B,
here's another
it's not
concept
my game anymore,
for me,
man.
dude. With that is that when it's hard to say you're done and really mean it. That's why so many guys I think take another fight when some goddamn sneaky promoter will be like, well, hey, if I got a deal for you,
for sure,
or whatever. But I went back once. I was on, I think, Transcendence, and there's guys that were on their film that wanted to go, and they were fight fans. And I go, well, we can go down to Greg and Winks if you want, and
check it out. Albuquerque?
Yeah, we were shooting in Albuquerque, and I hadn't been to the gym in, I don't know, maybe 9 months or something. I hadn't gone back, and because after I was done, I went because Keith was still fighting, so I'd go and I'd be a training partner to him, and I got shook one time, and I was like, what are you doing, Tait? Like, you're taking a lot of time to do this, and you're taking damage, and this is not going to benefit you. And I was clear about it. I was like, it's for my friend, and when this camp's over, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Sure.
And because it's too intense. The training it's what it is. And I went down and I watched guys spar, and I was itching to put gloves on so bad. I was sitting with my friends with Darren and Wade, and I was just like. And I never went back. And I'm like, I don't even want to be in the room. Like, the smell of it turns me on in a way, and all that stuff.
It hits some nerves. It hits some buttons,
man. It's weird, man. It's like I don't want to get in the water again like that, just because it's like it calls you so much, and it's so not good for you at that level. I'm not trying to tell anybody don't go to a jiu-jitsu gym or don't like. But like at that level,
at a professional
where
level,
I was, I'm like, to go in there and do that, like, and I wonder if boxers, like, if when they're done boxing, it's like, I bet they never go and like are like, oh, unless that's their gig. Like,
it's probably tough, man. I agree, it's tough. It's tough. It's
like,
super tough.
How do you feel about it, like, now and training in regards to that, and like,
it's tough, man. There's, I don't want to say there's not ill feelings. There's just kind of this.
There's a cloud a little bit.
100%. Even now, like, my head coach, Tony Jeffries, owns Box and Burn. I go in there now. I don't train with any of the trainers. I put my headphones on. I do my same thing. And I go in there, and I don't know. It's almost like when you walk in, it's almost this feeling of not regret, but there's a cloud. Like, and I've always thought this, like, I'll put my headphones on and I'm thinking in my head, people are like, oh, there's Schaub. There's that guy. Oh man, there's the guy, like, negative stuff.
And whatever they might be thinking that you're projecting.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
And then I feel like there's also a sense of like, I want to apologize and go, because I'm not suited up, and I'm like, I'm letting these guys down because I'm not here to help. Like,
dude, I usually work out time when the gym's empty on purpose. And I worked out there, and there happened to be a kids class, and 3 or 4 kids go, "Oh, when's the next fight?"
Right?
They don't know, man. They don't follow this crap.
Thankfully,
when's the next
they're not
fight?
on Facebook.
And I just go, "I don't know, little buddy. I don't know, man. It's heartbreaking." Yeah. Or like the other day, Henner Gracie and I trained at 7 a.m. on Saturdays because I know no one's going to be there. And then he goes, "Hey, man, can't do 7 a.m. Let's do 9:30. There's the class." And I was like, "I'm not going to come, man." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "I just don't." it's almost I don't want to face everybody. Like I don't want to take all the questions. Like I'm almost. It's weird to say, but I almost feel like I let them down. I'm almost ashamed.
And like because I think, I mean, for me anyway, and it sounds like for you too, is like one of the biggest honors for me. Really, like it wasn't about money or it wasn't about any of that in a way. It was here's guys that I don't know if people know how thanklessly guys like Amal Easton or Greg Jackson or Mike Winklejohn, Brandon Gibson, like all these guys give their time like really freely, like and there's some money to it I guess right now, but like it's not like
not really
whatever, know.
It's tough.
And it was like to honor them and go, I'm going to compete as your athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that is the thing. And that's the thing I'm talking about that I hear when you're like, I feel like I'm letting them down. And then even in a regular jiu-jitsu class, it's like, I'm the competitor. I'm the guy that's out there carrying the flag. And like, what happens when you're not carrying the flag into battle anymore? Now what place are you on the team? And it's like,
I agree.
It's weird, man. It's a weird thing.
I haven't been able to get over it. Actually, I just talked to Trevor Whitman and I. Trevor was my first boxing
one of the best
coach
striking coaches in the world
ever. We had assembled the crazy, at the time, literally the best team in the world at Grudge, where Shane Carwin, myself, it was GSP, Rashad,
all the Jackson
Elliot,
boys would go up regularly.
Oh my God!
Because
it was
of
this
the training.
Hybrid of monsters. And everyone, you can say what you want, but everyone got a little famous. Money started flowing, sponsors started coming. The team broke up. We all went our separate ways. I lost Nogueira. I left. Shane retired. Elliot retired. Cody went a different direction. So everyone went their separate ways. But for the longest time, it was Trevor Whitman, Shane Carwin, and myself. I couldn't afford to pay Trevor, so Shane took out a loan and paid for both of us. So it was just the three of us every night. And Shane and I would do a private. This was a schedule, Monday through Friday. Shane and I would do a private with Trevor at 6 p.m. for an hour. After that, we would do jiu-jitsu with Christian Allen for an hour. After that, we'd do MMA for a class for an hour, and that was our training, just me and Shane, for the longest, man. And Trevor would watch and stay all of it, and we were like a group of brothers. And I was talking to Trevor the other day. Trevor and I haven't talked in probably 3 years. We had our falling out, haven't talked in 3 years. When I announced my retirement like a week ago, he texted me and said, "Hey, man, want you to know I'm thinking of you. I hope everything's good. I listen to your podcast all the time. It feels like we're still brothers.
God
I
bless
just want
him.
you to know I love you, man." And I was like, I get chills talking about it.
Makes me want to cry.
Yeah, and so I text him, and I said, yeah, me too. God damn it,
fuck,
Tate.
huh?
So I text him. I said, hey, brother, I miss you so much. One thing I can say is you, Shane, and I, we did do it right. We did care about each other.
Man.
And our only goal is to be world champions, and we got fucking close, my man. I love you. And he just wrote, "Let's talk sometime." And we're supposed to actually talk later this afternoon.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right?
And that's the thing, man. That like when people are like, I remember the first time my mom went and saw one of my fights, and she was like, "Are you mad at that guy, or is it?" And I go, "No." I said, "It's not like that for me." I said, and I thought about it. I go, I am trying to smash my knee into his face, but I'm not trying to hurt him.
It's not a
but I'm
mean
not trying to
thing,
hurt
ever,
him at all.
ever.
And I'm like, and I can't say that more clearly. Like, here's what looks like the most savage, violent act, and I'm not trying to hurt him. I regard him highly.
It's a dance.
But I want to win. I want to see if I can exact what my coaches have given me in this high tense arena when it counts under the lights. And so that's not what the fight's about. The fight's not about like I'm a savage and I'm out there killing. For me, what the fight is like what you just said about T and about like you and Shane, and it like thanklessly in a gym for hours, and the brotherhood of that, like that's what. Fuck, man! For me, that's what that is. Showing me how to be a man.
That's what I'll miss most.
Thank you to all the guys that I ever slapped hands with to teach me how to be me.
Man. I just it's just crazy to think about that. And like you said, it wasn't even about the opponent. Like that, my opponent barely ever crossed my mind. It was more about making sure I didn't let anyone down.
I don't want to let them down.
And I've never admitted this, and I told Trevor this in text. I said, when our team broke up, nothing was ever the same. You could have wrote a date on when all of us fell out of love with MMA, and it was when Shane, Trevor, and I, the three of us, parted ways. Because to me, it was never about fighting. It was never about fame. It was never about money. It was about the three of us doing this goal, and boy, did we work hard. Oh, my God. You're talking about on a Saturday morning, me and Shane, these giant heavyweights, running 8 miles,
you got to
up
fall
Red
in
Rock.
love with suffering.
What? And then me at the time, and I have money, and Shane buying me Chipotle all the time, and me telling him, bro, I promise when I make it, I'll be buying Chipotle. And then when I do make it, I buy Shane Chipotle. Every time we go to Chipotle from then on, he'd be like, you're buying. He's damn right I'm buying.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. There's just that experience, man, is priceless. It's not about winning or losses. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's those experience and the brotherhood that I met. The guys that I met, what? It's insane, man. You talk about the coaches. No coach gets into it, goes, all right, I'm going to get famous and make money from this.
Right.
They don't make that much money. They really don't.
No.
Some of them are well off, the real famous ones, but in general, none of them are Freddie Roach. He's an outlier, man.
Right.
Or Greg Jackson. Those are outliers.
And not even Greg. Like, Freddie's like that because of I'm sure he's got television deals. But, like, Greg's not like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like when we're saying well off, we're like, a guy that owns his business, maybe you're 80 or 120 a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, they're not. Nobody's making 600, 800, 1,000 or $1 million.
Freddie Roach is the outlier.
Freddie Roach is the one guy maybe that is. And
dude, a story about Greg. I didn't train with Greg until probably my third or fourth fight, but I was fighting in the W something in Fairfax, Virginia, and I was set up. I was fighting this guy was on the Olympic team wrestler, Johnny Curtis, but John Dotson was on the fight card. He was the main event, and I was like the co-main event or whatever. And Greg was there for John. My corner was gone, and I was getting called up. And obviously I knew who Greg was. Greg was like God to all of us. The man. Like, he walked in the room, we're like, oh shit, there's Greg Jackson. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't talk to him a bunch. And right before that fight, Greg goes, who you fighting? I tell him, he goes, wrestler. I go, yeah, really good wrestler. We just found out. They told me the guy was a high school wrestler. He's actually on the Olympic team, national champion. Like, this one's going to be tough. Greg goes, no, you're going to be fine. You're way more athletic. Let's go walk. No one's ever done this with me. We don't know each other. He didn't know my name.
Let's go walk out to the cage.
Let's go walk to the cage. And this is my first time dealing with visualization. He goes, let's go walk to the cage. I go, I don't think you can go out there. He goes, just follow me. Go to the cage. Greg walks me around the cage. He's talking in my ear, and right away I'm like, holy shit,
this is different.
I can do anything. Go back. I won the fight. Then from then on, and I even asked Greg, I'm like, what do I owe you, man? He's like, nothing. Even all the times I trained with Greg, I'm like, what do you owe you, man? He's like, we'll figure it out. He's always been that guy, man.
He's a beauty, man. He's a guy, Chris Luttrell, Mike Winkeljohn. It's like, it's not even what they say, it's just how they walk. And to have the blessing of having guys like that. You mentioned Elliot Marshall, and he's another guy, man, that's winning. Like, that's a guy, like, his beautiful little boys and his wife, who's man, like the loveliest woman, and they're just fantastic. And it's that kind of stuff too. Trained with Elliot a while in like 2001 up in Boulder, and then on and off, because I'd always had connections with Amal and Elliot for years after that. And then, of course, when he'd come down to Jackson's and when he's fighting. But we don't see each other for years, man. But when I see him, man, it's just like there's no time at all, and I love him, and I can't wait. You know what I mean? It's
because you're not going to meet anyone. Tate.
I know that I can sleep in his house.
100%.
His wife cares about me, and we've only had a couple hours of conversations if you put them all together.
Yeah, I'll even give you my girlfriend. You come to the house. No, I'm just kidding. I was just trying to make you laugh. But the thing is if you walk outside these doors, you're not going to meet anyone who's gone through the same experience we have. Mm-mm. It's such a brotherhood, and even guys I fought, even people think I have this animosity towards Travis Brown or Orlovsky or Ben Rothwell or Nogueira. Not at all, man, because we've shared something no one else in the world can. I know what they went through, and they passed the test. I passed the test, and we punched each other in the face and did some brain damage or whatever, but there's this certain bond that you can never replace, man. None of those guys.
I almost feel like I remember the first time I did a stick fight that was like kind of under pressure in a fight kind of arena, and afterwards a dude came up and they asked me some questions after. They're like, what's that like, or what's the experience like? And I said, it's a trip, we go and it's like slapping hands. You clack sticks and then it's on, and I said with the sticks whizzing by your head, and like when you're in that, I said, it's almost like there's another entity that's formed. It's like there's this energy, like maybe it's like he's a positive and you're a negative electrical charge, and then they come together and there's another energy that's formed, and it's like and maybe that's the experience, maybe that's God, maybe that's whatever, I don't know, but like
It's hard
there's
to
something
describe.
else that happens when you do that with somebody, and like, yeah, not mad at those guys, thankful they were there, because I couldn't have done that without them.
Dude, I remember there was a period of time, really forever, even if me and Shane train now, he'd beat the shit out of me, but we would do jiu-jitsu, and he would always start on top, which isn't fair. Shane's 300
not fair.
pounds. I was like 230 at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was maybe a purple belt, and Shane Shane doesn't have a belt. He has a belt and destroying
Right.
anybody.
Ass kicking.
Black belts, does not matter. Shane's
Yep.
so big and strong. Nothing ever worked on the guy. And for an hour, he just stayed on top and destroyed me. Forever, man. And weeks went by, and then I never complained. Finally, I just asked him, and in sparring, he'd beat the shit out of me. And I just go, "What are you doing, man? Like, I don't feel like I'm getting better." He goes, "Oh no." And he's dead serious. He goes, and his voice broke a little. And he goes, "I do this because I love you. The reason I do this because I love you. Because when you get in the fight, it's going to be easy."
Nobody's going to be like this.
That's why he goes, "I'm doing this to help you." He goes, "Just trust."
Frank Mir gets on top
he goes,
of you?
He goes, "Trust this
No
process."
worries.
Yeah, he goes, "Trust this process." He goes, "I realize you're getting frustrated. I'm doing this because you don't have experience, and this is building what you need to get better." He goes, "Just trust me." Okay, Shane, I'm just gonna let you beat my ass every day, and that's what we did, man.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, man.
I wish he'd have worked on his back more.
Yeah. You know, he was a guy where
It's a hard thing to do, to ask a guy that's so dominant in one position. That's why, like
no one could hold him down, really. You know,
Yeah.
and also you got this is the
hard
thing
for a heavyweight that's that big, that's a real heavyweight, that's a 260 pounder or something like that, or a guy that cuts
cutting
that
to
cuts down.
265.
A guy that big, you don't have he doesn't get the experience of having a 400-pound guy on him.
World class
You know what I mean?
wrestler.
There's
You got to
nobody
remember,
that
world class
does.
wrestler too.
Yeah.
World class wrestler. No one really took him down. The only guy to take him down was Gonzaga. Then he got up and knocked him out with a jab. But the other thing about Shane though too is Shane was on a time constraint. You know, because Shane was old. People forget Shane was older. Shane started when he's 36.
Yeah.
35,
First
37.
fight. Yeah.
So he's older. So it's like, okay, you're a phenomenal wrestler. You don't have a ton of striking. You have great jiu-jitsu defense. So what's the priorities here? Should we work off your back?
Nah.
Probably not.
Yep.
We're going to work on your cardio. We're going to work on your hand skills, and then you're going to wrestle high-level guys. And that's what our focus was. Shane was so talented and powerful. I think, bar none, the hardest hitter to ever walk through the octagon. I guarantee you he is. Shane was so strong. When he fought Frank Mir, Shane maybe hit mitts. This is not a joke. 3 times. He was dealing with some personal issues,
Right.
some work issues. He was sick. His back was fucked up. Barely trained, made weight, and look what he did, man.
Yeah.
What?
Savage.
Never seen anything like it, man.
Frank's been through some wars with guys that are just like that, like that are too big and dangerous and hit like other people don't hit. You can't get hit like that by a regular
Frank
person.
and me both, man.
You know what I mean?
Both of us, man. We've gone through some shit.
Yeah.
Frank more so. Frank to me was kind of the guy I've always looked up. He's always been my favorite heavyweight. Just because think how long Frank's been in the UFC and been a draw.
Okay,
And been a
I'm
draw.
sorry. I messed up when I said that about Diego. Frank Mir, longest running UFC athlete there is, right?
Hands down, yeah.
Gotta be. I mean, and that's the sad part of the UFC.
Heavyweight.
The sad part. I remember going with Rogan, and we're at the Spearmint Rhino, and it's like Phil Baroni, Frank Mir, I don't know, somebody else that was in the UFC. Frank's the UFC champion, heavyweight champion, checking IDs at the door of the Spearmint Rhino.
How long ago was that, though?
Are you not
that was
embarrassed,
a while ago,
Dana
though,
White?
right?
Are you not embarrassed?
That was a while ago, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Roy Nelson worked there, too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
could
Roy
be.
met his wife there.
Good for you, Roy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a dime piece.
That's
and have a
awesome.
kid together.
You know what I want to do with Roy? I even called up Scrape, and I was like, do you know Roy? Because I don't know him at all. And I said, I want to start.
Great guy.
I want to start like a ketogenic supplement company, like proteins and stuff. And I want to take him to 205, and he can maybe win a belt there. I don't even care if he does. I want to video it all.
He's gonna do work,
I want to
though.
have a whole show on it. Him going to 205, have 2-3 fights there, and then go to 185. I believe that you could get him to 170 over the course of a couple of years,
You think?
3 years. And you would then, and the reason I want to do it is because then you have this transformation that you've marked, video, chronicle.
Oh, it'd be epic.
And the man, here's your supplement company, Roy, that you sail into the sunset with. There's your UFC welfare.
I like that.
Because unless you are on UFC welfare, like Liddell got a job, Forrest, Matt Hughes. There's less than a handful, right?
Well, they're all Hall of Famers.
And but even the Hall of Famers aren't, like Mark Coleman's not killing it. Dan Severn probably selling tractors in Michigan.
That's an understatement.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, like, you know what I mean? It's like, unless you're one of those fortunate guys, and great, good on them. I'm, nice it's happening, but like, there's not an exit plan. I was like, that's a story. That guy's a story.
You know what? I think I love the idea, but I feel like Roy would have done it by now, unless he's doing it now. Because now where's Roy go? You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful movement. I mean, and I think that's the thing too at heavyweight. I think when you start to drop weights like that, Keith said to me the other day, we were on a movie together, and we did a Christopher Lloyd. I think that's his name, Christopher Guest. That's it. That did Best in Show. We're on a movie and we do a fight, me and him, and he goes, "Dude, you should have fought at heavyweight. Like, what's wrong?" But like the thing is like what you're talking about, like Shane, like real heavyweights, that guys that are real. There's not a lot of them, so guys that are real light heavyweights, they get to shine in the heavyweight division,
man.
right?
100%, yeah.
But as you drop down 205, that's a tougher division. 185, that's a tougher division.
Murderers Row.
You know what I mean? And like
170, 170, 150, 170, 155.
Just
black belts
it.
and everything.
Yeah.
Literally black belts and everything.
And
the best in the world.
And in black belts in gymnastics, black belts, like, it's like stuff that you don't think correlates. Like, ask the guys at 205 to do a backflip, and then ask the guys at 155, and 80% of the 155ers will do it, and there'll be one guy that does it. And
it's almost a different. It's almost
the
a different
athleticism,
sport.
the body that you can have, the way you can move your body at 155 versus 205, just different.
It's almost a different sport.
You know who I saw that was like that? Cain Velasquez. When I saw his first fight, I think it wasn't against Rothwell. It was against.
You're saying in the UFC?
Yeah, in the UFC.
He fought Congo. He fought a Russian cat. He fought Nogueira.
There's one of those Iowa boys, I think. Anyway, hand, a flurry, takedown off the fence. Guy gets up, takedown again. Guy gets up, takedown, and stripping him and moving like a lightweight. It was
he fights like a 205.
It was like we looked at a lightweight fighting, and I was like, if he keeps up a gap, there's nobody that can keep up with him in that division.
Good. Yeah,
nobody.
There's no one. Yeah.
That was I was like, oh shit, that's over for heavyweights.
Yeah, Cain was kind of the first kind of hybrid to.
But then you hurt yourself. That's the thing too. That's the other part about fighting. The first time you really get stung and you really hurt yourself, and then you're second guessing, like, am I safe to shoot a double on this leg right now? I just had that knee done.
100%,
You're not
man.
going to make the shot.
Or his style was always kind of that grinding style.
Yep.
He got knocked out by JDS, and then that second.
Then he's like, I'm taking distance away from everybody.
Yep. And either guys get better or they get gun shy.
Yeah. That's the thing about that gun shy stuff is, like, I think when he's talked about Shane having a run for the belt and it's a shorter time because of his age. Geez, it's also getting your head right in there. It's like the guys, the hard part I think about guys that you see that are in the UFC for so long is to keep their confidence right and to keep their commitment to their punches, their shots, and all. If you don't have commitment to it, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's what I said to Lawler and Condit. I said, I got to ask you guys, you've been fighting way longer than me. How the fuck have you guys been doing it for so long? How do you wake up with the motivation? Like, where does this come from? Because me, whatever, a 7-8 year career, there was days where I was like, dang, even in football, there's days like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is for me. But those guys, Carlos admitted, he's like, yeah, man, there's times where I was like, you know what? I don't know, man, because I just stuck with it. And then Robbie's saying he needs it in his life. He needs that routine.
Robbie's another guy, though, that's been in the UFC. I mean, he wasn't always in the UFC, but fighting from, like, when he fought Joe Riggs or whatever way back in the day or whatever. I mean,
forever, man.
Yeah, forever.
And he took 2 years off of sparring. He would watch guys spar and study tape and then still fight when he's in Strike Force. And they were both saying how they're not sparring as much.
Right.
That's the trend of the sport. Because we had wars.
Well,
I remember Keith would come down to Denver, and his rounds were me and Shane. We'd Shark Tank him.
Yep.
He'd stay in there. We'd go in there, just try and knock his head off.
Yep.
It's a bad idea, man.
Yeah.
What's Keith going to get tougher from that?
Well, guys that ask too. They're like, "Hey, when you guys go, are you going 100%?" And I just smile at the guy, like as some interview guy, and Keith's like, "Well, yeah." He says we're not turning it over. He's like I'm not. My intention isn't to knock him out, but we're full speed and we're going. And it's a war. Like when we go and slap gloves with Keith, it's like, all right. Like it's real. Like you have all the nerves and all. It's not like I'm going in for some easy rounds.
No.
And that's the thing too. I think about going back, like what you must feel going to Box and Burn or whatever, and all that kind of stuff is that. I for sure don't want to train with a guy getting ready for a fight or a young guy coming up through the ranks like, because I know how I would look at that. If you walked into our gym and you're like, yeah, I'm a fighter, I come from Nebraska or whatever, and we're going to see.
Oh, I'm going to embarrass you.
We're going to find out.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you where you're at.
100%. Oh, yeah.
And so,
I'm going to embarrass you. Yeah. There's egos.
I know the deal. I'm not
too.
walking on the I wouldn't. It would be disrespectful almost in a way, I'm like
100%, man. But don't get it twisted. If those young guys, if I did do a class and obviously they come after you, especially if you've been in the UFC or you're a name, they always come after you. I realize this, and I have too much of an ego within myself to ever let myself get out of shape. Well, I train Monday through Saturday still.
Yeah.
The only day I take off is Sunday usually. Yeah.
Good for you,
for
man.
that exact reason.
Yeah.
Just in case some shit breaks off.
I feel like right now I'm like, do you think I'm more dangerous or less dangerous now that there's like really something that's like I'm maybe not as well trained as I was. So I'm going to be way more savage.
Yeah, man.
Way more.
Yeah.
Like my mind is not in a place where I'm like, I'll just polar bear you and whatever happens is cool. I'm not like that anymore.
No, because if I had a fight coming up, it's like, all right, I'm getting ready for Orlovsky.
Right.
You tap me, it's whatever. You know what the fuck is
coming
up.
You take my back. I'll rest the rest of the round fighting.
There's none of that now. There's none of that. I can't have you walking out and be like, yeah, Schaub really let himself go,
did pretty good against
I choked
Brendan.
the shit out of him
Some
twice.
Funny shit. That's funny, man.
Never.
That's so funny. Man, I love it. And do you when you going forward now, like where you're headed, do you have any definitive stuff with that with all your projects coming up? You got your
You mean as far as contracts?
As far as I
signed a 2-year deal with Fox Sports and Fox as far as Firing the Kid. So that includes the podcast, the digital video series. We have to produce 12 of them, which those will start dropping in, I think, December. We start shooting in November.
So that'll be a televised Fighter and the Kid show. The Kid.
It's called the Fighter and the Kid 3D, and it doesn't make sense. Dude, the reason we call it 3D is just because it made me laugh, because we're in the creative room and Mitch, our director, who worked with Stephen Colbert, he's such a beast and genius. And we're like, what should we call it? And
Triple Dong.
Yeah, someone goes, call it the Fire and Kid Experience. I'm like, well, no, there's Joe Rogan Experience. So we don't want to confuse everyone, because Joe and I are, we work together all the time. And then Mitch goes, Fire and the Kid 3D. And I burst out laughing. I go, it doesn't make sense, man. He goes, I know. Isn't it great? And I went, I actually like it.
Okay.
It doesn't make zero sense. Yeah, there's no 3D.
Perfect.
So we'll start dropping those, man. And we start shooting November. We got them all storyboarded out, and there's a whole team. We got the guys from Funny or Die and Mitch from Stephen Colbert. It's this all-star team, and the cool thing is Brian and I got to form the team. They went, here's the budget, you guys pick who you want to do, and so it's this dream team, man.
And now Brian knew a lot of those guys. He knew who to ask and stuff.
Brian's the one who brought on Mitch. They've worked together on stuff before, and he goes, dude, I'm telling you, we got because we either going to do Mitch or Will Sasso. And Will's a good buddy of ours, and he does a ton of sketch comedy.
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious. He's going to be featured in some, but Will's super busy, and for this Mitch guy's perfect. Yeah. So we're excited, man.
What a cool vehicle, man.
Yeah, man.
That's dope. That's so fun, man. And so that'll be that'll just be a digital project, or is Fox wanting to put that on
both?
Really?
So what I want to do, especially for our fans and being in the podcast world, is we're going to release them digitally on the Fox channel, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. tfatk.com, our website, and release it digitally. And then, so there's going to be 2 a month. So the first and the third week of every month, the new episode drops. The second, fourth week of the month are going to be the outtakes, which are going to be probably funnier than that.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's fun.
Yeah, man. So we're excited. Me and Brian we spent so much time writing these things out, man.
So you've tripled or quadrupled your income since you announced retirement.
I mean, it's not even close. I'd have to sit down. I mean, yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, different level, man. I've like I've never had,
That's
even
so
fining,
sick.
it's not consistent, you know.
No.
It's like lump here, lump here.
You're like, ooh, I'm a
I get
1%er,
injured.
not a 1%er.
Yep, boom, boom,
Yep.
you know. But now it's like clockwork.
You're like, this is going to come in
Clockwork.
maybe forever.
Clockwork, man.
When did that change for you? The idea that I don't know. I'm assuming that you felt like I felt, which is maybe not true, but like where even if things started going good for a while, I'd be like, hey, the other shoe is going to probably drop, and like this might not last or whatever.
Oh, every day.
And so then that's had that you're talking about then a switch of consciousness where you go into a realm where you're going, you know what, this might just get better and better and better. And was that like the courage to be like, you know what, I'm committed to being done with fighting, I'm going on, and then these things blossom, or
it was kind of happening at the same, like it was almost a perfect storm. Like UFC sent me this email, and I received some calls from certain UFC executives where I needed to sign my name and likeness to Reebok, and then the drug testing, they wanted to be able to hit me up whenever they wanted, which, you know, I don't do drugs or anything, so that didn't matter. But it was just this perfect storm. And then I was dealing with the contract negotiation with Fox and these other sponsors, and this other deal came along. So it was just like this perfect storm where the universe is like, we can't make this any clearer, you idiot.
You're like,
go do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Now, as far as do I wake up where I'm like, man, this might fall through? Every morning.
Sure.
And that's where the work ethic comes
Sure.
from. Like ask Callan, man. It's just, I'm relentless. Those guys will get emails, texts, 2, 3 in the morning. I'm constantly thinking about it.
yeah.
Always working on it, always thinking, whether it's merchandise, branding, the live tour posters, the cities, the show, everything.
Yep. Yeah.
I always feel like it's going to fall through. Yeah,
It's
I've always
cool.
felt like that.
Yeah, I think it's a neat thing when like it wasn't until recently in the last couple of years really where I like started to build a base, and it's like I'm like invested in a lot of different outlets, and a couple of those started. I'm like, I only really need one of these to work, and 3 of them are working right now, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you've been
wow,
smart,
this
man.
could be good. This could
Yeah.
be good, you know. And it's like it's a real freedom in that way, you know. And the same thing. Get up, work. Like they're like, well, when do you take? I'm like, I would love to go sit on a beach or something.
There's
like
no
that.
9 to 5
But
for-
even right
for
now,
us.
for me, that would be work. I would be working from whatever beach I was on, and then right now, the way I'm feeling, I'm like, I would be compiling footage and stuff for, you know, zip lining through the jungle or
100%.
doing whatever it is. You know?
Even in the UFC, I always felt, no matter win or lose, after every fight, I felt like the road was over. I felt like they were going to cut me.
It's the worst.
After Crow Cop, you know, we had this war, knockout of the night. Even asked my coach, I'm like, what do you think? He's like, what do you mean, what do you think? I'm like, are they going to release me because I didn't knock him out earlier? Like, no. I've always been that way. I've always thought the road was going to end right away.
Being an actor is the same kind. As soon as I sign on to a job and like I know I have that job, I'm like, I'm already unemployed, and I'm like, it's like I don't know if it's a predatory gene in me or something, but I'm always like an electric eye, like looking for where's the next thing, because I have to ensure my future.
You
here.
have to,
I'm going
man.
to give these guys solid 100%, but my spidey sense, I guess I'm sending out energy. Like I need that other thing to draw in.
And I'm just learning this, so I can't announce what show it is, and people ask me all the time, but so I got this entertainment gig with a big network.
Right.
And, you know, I thought it was a done deal. You know, you got the gig, contract in hand. I'm like, cool, when do I start? Pan 3 months later, we're still under contract negotiations. There's little ins and outs that go into it, man. It's a beast. But entertainment's a different animal. It's a completely different animal. Because it's a lot of it's out of your control. Like as far as the podcast goes or Fox, a lot of that, you know, I can handle that. But the other stuff, man, it's impossible. Entertainment's a different fucking animal. There's so many moving parts that you don't even think about.
Right.
Like when I told Brian, he's the first person I called because I knew he'd be so proud. I went, bro, that gig I've been auditioning for 4 months where we didn't think I had a shot, I got it. Brian's screaming, yelling. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll call you right back. Hangs up, calls back like an hour later, you know, Brian. And he's like, hey, man, I've been in this business a long time. Don't count your eggs before they hatch. I'm telling you, entertainment's a beast. And he's right, man. Pan,
he's right.
Here we are later. I'm still waiting on it. But, I'm not relying on it.
No.
It's just if it happens, great.
Well, that's the thing.
That's entertainment, man. It's
that's
insane.
like these production companies. Like people are like, oh, we're interested in doing this with you or that with you or whatever, to do a show or something like that. And I'm like, cool. And that's great. But I'm going to continue on. I'll make my own stuff until you guys get your stuff together, because that might be never. And if I'm, it's always the thing about like, what I learned at first was when I really started looking at myself, and it was a long time ago, but like looking at resentment and looking at anger and like diffusing that in myself, and how do you succeed as a human and as a loving, kind, spiritual entity that moves through life instead of like, kind of fear-based and anger-driven, where's a shift in that happen? And for me is like, it has to do with accountability, and it has to do with owning everything and being, the master of your own ship kind of thing, your own hero in a way, and as that throwback to that Joe's line. But for me, I looked at it and I go, as long as like you're my problem, like, man, Brendan doesn't treat me very good, and he's the reason I didn't get that goddamn job, and as long as you're my problem, I'll never, even if it's legitimate, even if you are that guy,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. Mm-hmm. If I have to wait for you to be nice or get better or to have an epiphany, I might never get better.
Dude.
And there's nothing in my way to get better. There's nothing in anybody's way. There's no other person or other thing. It's me getting out of my own way. And it was the first thing that allowed me to do that.
Yeah, 100% correct. It's funny you touch on this. Like, there, especially when I was balls deep in the UFC, competing, training, 3 times a day, seeking that title. There were some guys who I held resentment against for whatever reason, whether they were other fighters, guys in the gym, ex-girlfriends, whatever it is. And someone asked me about a girl I used to date the other day. You know her.
Sure.
And they asked me if it bothers me or anything like that. And I told them, I said, no, I'll always love that girl. Always, man. There's no resentment at all. Yeah. Like, we didn't work out, but as far as hate or jealousy, you can't have that, man, on any facet.
No.
Because you're focusing on the wrong things, and nothing good comes from jealousy.
There's no money in that.
There's no money in that. And I look at a guy again. I've had these 2 guys, and Brian Cal and Joe Rogan, who's taking me under a wing, and you look at Rogan. He's always Rogan's competitive as they get, but he's always a guy he's pushing other people up. He's always however, and anyone knows me, if they've ever dealt with me, ex-girlfriends, guys I fought, friends, they need anything, you can call me. It's done, man.
Yeah.
What's mine, yours.
Yeah.
Besides my Porsche, whatever mine is yours. You know what I'm saying?
People ask me the wrong questions. They're like, "Hey, if you have the time or something, or I'd like to call," and I'm like, I never have the time. I don't ever have any extra time. There's no free time. But I'll always have the time. Just tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Because I'll make that work in.
100%.
Like, you know what I mean?
It
is exactly where I'm at with it. Like, no, I'm 100% booked, busy.
Yep.
And I will make time for you.
Yep.
Like that. And that's the beautiful thing, I think, about that kind of stuff is like, you're like, no, we're all busy, productive people. And let's go ahead and we'll carve out a thing, though. Like, we can make that happen because we're not in the business of I can't. We're in like, let's get it done. You know?
I think what's good, I've had other guys ask me about podcasts, how they can help them. And when I first started, I that's the athlete in me. It's a competition where it's like, I'm not helping you.
Right.
Hell no, you're not getting my info. No, I can't help you with t-shirts. No, I can't help you with marketing. But now, shoot, man. It's,
whatever.
Yep. Whatever you need.
Yeah. It's one of the most important things I think about when dudes are like, you got to write a book or this or that. But like, those are the kinds of things. It's nothing I know. I mean, it's stuff that I know, but it's just stuff that guys have told me along the way. Like, you got to get free of this. Here's a way to do that, And I think what I've been messing with lately, when stuff comes up that's negative or something, I just think about it in a different way of, like what I would call denial. Yeah. And I go, you can only think one thought in your head at a time. It can be positive or negative. The more negative thoughts that you have and that you entertain, because whatever pops in your head, that's not on you. You entertain it, that's on you.
Yep.
And so the more I entertain it, the more time I spend doing that, the worse my life is, the more negative my life is, and the sadder my thoughts are, and the frown that comes, and all
it's
that.
a waste of energy.
Then the more positive, wow, the better things are and the brighter. And I'm like,
100%.
wow. And like, so anytime somebody's like if I've done something to wrong somebody or hurt somebody, I take care of that right away.
Yep.
Like, I don't want that lingering. If I feel like there's something weird between us, I'm like, hey man, I want you to know, like, here's how I feel. And like, if you feel weird, like, I want to clear up whatever it is. I don't like living with that stuff. I refuse to. And then if there's something that people are like, well, what do you think about this? I don't think about that. I don't click that link.
Yep.
I don't know that happens. It doesn't exist in my life. Therefore, I'm happier.
Yeah, that's a choice.
And people are like, well, you should know everything. I'm like, my brain's not strong enough to do it, to be able to compartmentalize. Like, I just edge it out because there's only so much time. It's kind of like you're training for a fight, and people are like, gi or no gi? I'm like, if your thing is to fight with no gi, I think you should fight with no gi all the time.
Yeah.
If you're looking to have fun however that is. But it just is like, there's only so much time. And
I agree.
I want to be happy in that time. And so like, it's been like very important, and especially later in life, because I think the thing is how to show other people how to do what you've done.
It's experience. Like at 25, if you ask me this, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Just as I see as I'm getting older and in a happier place where you can kind of step back and you can think like that. But it's tough to do, man.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's weird, like the drugs in your body, all the hormones that guide us and roll us, like how strong they are as a young guy is like, it's incredible. Like in that way, like I was trying to tell, I guess like my mom's here now, and we were driving around, and she was talking about, the prevalence of date rape and all that kind of stuff, and like things that happen and come up.
Some
and
Cosby shit?
And well, not even that, but like young kids, like when you're like, oh, there's a 15-year-old girl, and she's like, I was date raped by my 14-year-old boyfriend or whatever. And it's like you're like, and then you're like, well, but I don't, like, that can look like all kinds of things. Like, there's no more aggressive human on earth probably than a 14-year-old with a boner.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? And it's like
or more dangerous
like,
than a 21-year-old without goals or ambition.
It's all that stuff, and it's like you need experience to temper all those things inside you as a dude in that way. And that experience, like, people are like, well, how do you live an exciting life or this or that? Like, you just do shit. You say yes all the time.
Yep.
You always say yes.
I agree.
You make that your rule. Say yes.
Yep.
And you go out and you do it. And like when you're talking about those 21-year-olds that are like, or those 21-year-olds that are like that turn into 50-year-olds that are like that. And that's the saddest thing, is because then you got guys that are like talking about real experiences, and then you got that guy going, oh yeah, well, I know about that because I've read that in this book. And then, no, motherfucker, you got no experiences at all. Like, why don't you just listen and learn?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, or like when I was a younger dude and you're like, no, I know. And it's like, you couldn't possibly know. You've only been experiencing for a short time.
There's a big difference between being educated through experiences and then regurgitating what you read in books.
Huge.
I'd rather talk to the guy who's been through the fire than the guy who read about the fire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd rather talk to the illiterate guy.
I'd rather talk to the guy who's been through the fucking shit than the guy who's like, I read about this shit. I'm like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah, no,
You're
I
just
know.
regurgitating
Yeah.
what someone else did, man.
Yeah.
I'm about to piss my pants, by the way.
Yeah. Please go ahead. Cool. Pissing is handled, and we got to wrap
It's like
this
a
up,
camel.
man. We got to go see Mom, and you got to get on the rest of your day. Tell people where they find you and all that kind of stuff. And
Anything Firing Kid related is TFATK, so that's TFATK.com. All the episodes, merchandise, everything, man. That's at Brendan Schaub. You know the deal, my man.
cool, man. And find all your caffeine at cavemancoffee.com.
The best.
I'm at Tait Fletcher on Instagram, and Brendan's just Brendan Schaub on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
And Fighter and the Kid spelled out on Instagram.
The Fighter and the Kid.
The Fighter and the Kid. And we'll see y'all soon. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a lovely, lovely day.